guys, welcome back to Practically Creative. It is time for the March block of the month, and this month our color is yellow. And I used two really pretty yellows in there along with some blue from our January block, I think it is. And I kind of wanted a sunshine feeling, kind of a sunflower. And I think I did it with the yellows that I have and that little bit of blue. I made a Dresden. Now, I'm not going to go into the major how to make the little Dresden petals and all of that. What I really want you to see this week is that I used a straight stitch around this edge, and the straight stitch makes a Dresden block look like it's almost quilted already, even though there's no batting on the back of this. I also didn't use any heat and bond. I did use some glue. And to make my pieces, let me find them, I used homemade rulers. Now, I'm not going into how to make the homemade rulers, but I will put the link down in the description box for you for how I made this. This is actually just Dollar Tree plastic cutting board, and I cut it out to the angles that were supposed to be done. I want to say it's a 30-degree angle. And then this I made myself today. I wanted a 2.5-inch center, and this is what I used. It's a pen holder, and it actually came from Dollar Tree, and it was the right size, so I just put it on a piece of the cardboard that comes on the back of a charm pack and cut out my little circle so that I could have a center circle, and it worked out perfectly for my little blue center there. So enough talking, let's get into making this, because that's the fun. Okay, so we have sewn up our little Dresden pieces, and they have all been now trimmed. I've taken that, let's see if you can see it better from this side. I've trimmed it down as close as I can trim it, and then what I'm doing now is I'm putting my thumb up in that little corner, and I'm turning it over and pushing the corner up inside there, and then trying to get that little seam straight on the back. And then I'm going to take my iron and just iron that flat. This is how you make a Dresden blade. And we're going to use these little Dresden pieces. And here's the back. You can see I've ironed it straight. We're going to use these as the petals for our sunflower. And let me bring you down here to the ironing board so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so at the ironing board, you can see I've already ironed all 4 of these, and I'm just laying them up there once I get them done. All right, so there is my seam all the way across. And I've got my, well, it's the equivalent of a blue thing or a purple thing. But I'm going to put my finger in there at the little corner, flip it over, and that is not a super easy action for me. Then I'm going to lay it out straight so the seam goes up and down the middle as much as possible. Sometimes these just don't want to do it. And there it's straight. And that's our little petal for our sunflower. Okay, and now that we've got all of our petals put together, we have 18 of them. My 2.5-inch circle fits perfectly. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to put our block underneath it to hold this, and then we're going to put that all together so that we can do the blanket stitch or the sewing around the outside edge. This block, I don't know if you can see it, I have ironed a crease in there at the center, both directions, so that I can center my Dresden in here. And now that, excuse me, and now that I've got that in there, I'm going to put down my little blue piece in the center. And I just want to look and kind of make sure that everything is even. And iron down as flat as I can get it. Now, you may notice that some of my pleats don't look as big as others. That's fine. That's pretty much what happens with Dresden's. Or at least for me, that's pretty much what happens. And I'm just going to take a minute and do another little bit of ironing. Whoops. And that so it goes the right way. Now, I have options here for what I want to use for glue. And I didn't pull out any of my heating bond for this one because I don't really think I need it. But I think what I'm going to use is, I don't really want to do the spray today. I'm not feeling 100%, so the spray might not be the best thing to pop out there. And I'm going to see if I can get my tacky glue to give us some glue here. Little on the backs of the edge pieces here. It sticks pretty quickly. And I'm not putting lots on, just kind of smearing a little. And I will take the iron and iron that down. And the reason I'm not going all the way down is because when I put the center circle on, I will add more glue. I want it to be able to dry pretty quickly when I put my iron on it, because I'm going to take it right over to the machine and sew this down. Just a little dot of glue is all I'm doing. I already glued that one down. And then I think this is the back side. So we're going to put a good bit more glue on the back of that center circle. And the reason is because that glue not only has to hold down the center circle, it also has to keep the center of the block down there. The camera may not be showing it, but I can definitely see that glue through there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay my iron down and then pick it up. That center section's wet enough that it wants to stick to my iron. So we'll give it just a second. And that excess glue that's coming through the fabric will wash out. Okay, and then let me put all these adhesives back up where they go. One of the new things with the craft room that I'm trying to do is put things back where they belong, you know, what your mama taught you. And then we're going to go over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to start with sewing down the center circle, and then I'll go around the outside. I want a blanket stitch around this center circle, and then I can do a straight stitch around the outside. Actually, I don't want a blanket stitch here. I want a zigzag. And so I've put the zigzag on a 3 width, or 3 length, and a 1.5 width. And I'm just going to go around this center circle. This holds down the center of my Dresden, and it holds down that center circle so it doesn't fray. Next is I'm going to use about a 2.5 stitch length, And we're going to stitch right around the outside edge of this Dresden. And I'm using this inside edge of my presser foot as my guide. For where I want the stitch to be, because I want it to look even. When it's all down. And remember, okay, and there is our Dresden completely sewn down. I should point out to you that when you do the edge with a straight stitch like this, it gives you almost a quilted look to that edge of the Dresden. So it looks like you put batting underneath your Dresden, even though you didn't. And that's all from a simple straight stitch because of the way the Dresden blades are put together. Okay guys, and we're done. That didn't take all that long at all. Longest part was making the little Dresdens, and that's just folding it in half and sewing it. Remember, we used homemade rulers to make this, so this is easy, inexpensive, budget-friendly, accessible to anybody who wants to make this. And here is our finished block. I'm going to get you a really good close-up to see. But I do want to remind you to go check out Sylvia at You and Me FPP. I'll put her link up here somewhere. I never know which side it's going to go on. It'll show up. And I'm going to make another block similar to this one for the secondary quilt that I'm making. Remember, we're either doing a secondary quilt or we're going to make our initial quilt bigger. But I think this block is just going to look fantastic in there. And this month's color is yellow, again, as a reminder. And that blue I used on an earlier block this year. So I hope you enjoy it. And you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching. And there will be some close-up pictures right after I shut my mouth. Thank you.